Electronic Intifada was accidentally emailed by someone who contributes to the New York Times. Somehow they were accidentally copied on it. The New York Times.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. The New York Times killed an investigation of the Israeli hooligans. In internal email reveals, the New York Times killed the investigation by one of its own reporters into Israeli mob violence in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
In an internal Times email inadvertently shared with Electronic Intifada, Dutch reporter Christian Triebert explained to a manager that he had pitched a visual investigation I was conducting into the events, basically looking over video and figuring out who was at fault for this mob violence. Unfortunately, the story was killed. I regret that the planned moment-by-moment visual investigation was not further pursued. This has been very frustrating, to say the least, he wrote. The email was addressed to senior Times manager Charlie Statlander, a former senior press officer for the U.S. National Security Agency and the U.S. Army. That's who's running the Times. Triebert appeared interested in carrying out reporting that would set the record straight, remediating the false narrative insistently advanced by his own newspaper that the Israeli fans were victims of mob violence motivated by anti-Jewish hatred. The correspondence between Triebert and Statlander on Friday was triggered by the Electronic Intifada's request for comment regarding the paper's highly misleading reporting of Israeli mob violence. Apparently, New York Times continually claimed that this was violence against Jews as opposed to the reverse.
Pogrom. Everyone kept using the word pogrom. It was insane.
Yeah. There is still precisely zero evidence that even one anti-Semitic attack took place in Amsterdam, let alone a pogrom that Israeli government officials immediately claimed had happened. The Times had come under fire for using a video of Israeli football hooligan violence in Amsterdam last week to claim the exact opposite of what the video showed. Times claimed footage shot by a Dutch photojournalist showed anti-Semitic attacks on Israelis, even though it actually showed Israeli mob violence on a Dutch citizen. For several days, the footage was attached to the top of the paper's November 8th report about events in Amsterdam. On Tuesday, the paper finally issued a correction after the video's creator, Dutch photojournalist Annette de Graaf, publicly condemned international media for mislabeling her video as evidence of anti-Semitic attacks against Israeli football supporters. So they left this up for days, claiming the video showed the opposite of what it showed. This is New York Times for you. And then when they finally are kind of like forced into issuing a correction because it just gets too bad, they then issue the correction or a slight correction at a time that no one's paying attention to it anymore.
And well, just the fact that they accidentally emailed electronic intifada of all, I guess it's like, you ever have that thing where you're talking shit about someone and then you accidentally send it to that person because your wires get crossed? Was they in the email just like, as long as electronic intifada doesn't get a hold of this investigation, whoops, our bad.
Yeah, it's possible it was a Freudian slip where, I mean, obviously this journalist was complaining to his editor, so he was kind of pissed off, and maybe there was a bit of a Freudian slip there, letting them know about it.